Hi, I'm Ted with Everything Attachments, and we're today with a new product made in our own factory at Everything Attachments. And we just want to point out all the things that we've done. You know, as plows and other attachments are being made, two things are happening. Some of them are being made overseas and the quality's inferior to try to keep up with price. And some of the good American manufacturers are simply trying to decrease the thicknesses in their steel and so forth to try and match the prices of what the other people are bringing in from overseas. So at Everything Attachments, we think the answer is to make it ourselves, sell it direct to you, the customer, and have no dealers, no reps, no distributors, and be running our own company trucks all around to like dealers. We can ship with the shipping rates we get. We can ship to you as an individual much cheaper than we could own and operate our own trucks in any way, shape, or form. So we think we've got the distribution figured out to give you a lifetime product at the best price. So we're going to go over this new two-bottom plow from one end to the other and just kind of tell you what we do to make it better. You know, some of the things we haven't done is taken the thicknesses out of the metal that I've been used to seeing for the last 40 years. So this is still a 1-inch by 4-inch steel beam. This is an inch and 3/8 solid steel shaft, and it does have the optional coulters on here and the optional gauge wheel. The coulters would be used to cut through viney area. If you've got a place that hasn't been farmed in a while, hasn't been plowed, if it's got wiregrass, kudzu, things like that on it, when it's not cut before it's plowed, it's going to wad up around this beam back here, and every now and then you're going to have to get off your tractor and pull it off. So the coulters are nice if you're on a grassy area or you're doing a garden from last year. They had a lot of real fibery stuff in it like corn, okra, things like that had big long stalks. Coulters are always a pretty good option. The things we've done is we've kept this hitch here a full 1/2 inch. All we've just got in our new laser. This is cut on a plasma on a Whitney that'll punch and it'll punch and cut. Our new laser will cut perfectly round holes and make everything a little smoother. And on some of the more intricate attachments that we build, it's even more helpful. But on a plow, it doesn't matter, and either works great. Things like, you know, because this side has to be lower than this side, because once you're in the furrow, you need the extra adjustment to bring your plow back to flat. We use a 5/8 piece on this side, a 1/2 inch piece on this side. That's to keep it from bending. There's 3 holes on this side because as you loosen these U-bolts and offset your plow to get it set right with your tire track, you don't want your plow to start turning sideways. You still want it to track straight. So if you move your plow way over to one side, then you would drop back a hole or forwards a hole to straighten your plow with the tractor. So that's important to know. We manufacture, and this is unusual, not many factories manufacture their own moldboards and stuff. They buy those. Now we do buy this piece from Empire Plow. It's made in the U.S. It's hardened and forged. We've had several people call back after they get their piece and say that the tips were bent on them during shipping. But that comes that way, so it helps it get into the ground. So the very end tip of that right there does have a slight bend on it. But that's the way it's supposed to be. But these moldboards are special because we're in a red clay area. When it's wet, it's really sticky. You know, when perfect plowing conditions, it isn't going to matter as much, but sometimes you can't always choose when you plow. So if you live in a clayish area, it's a little bit wet. When it tries to stick to this moldboard, sometimes it'll just come up and fall back over the wrong way. So we've added a little extra curve here to it when we roll this piece of metal, and then we've done 3 other processes to this same piece. We've put a bend across here, which actually makes a little cavity right here where the air can suck underneath that clay and it releases a little bit where it isn't stuck to it so tight. Because the more and more you use this, you're going to lose the paint off this. It's going to turn shiny metal. It's going to be slick as glass. And so it makes it suck to that clay that much more. So that air gap there lets it release itself. Then we put another bend at the end to make sure that it gets that extra kick it needs at the end to make that turn. So there's a lot of things about this moldboard that I've put into it to make it do the things that it does. And I plow with a lot of plows, and this plow's the best I've ever seen. And out of all the manufacturers I know, they're not going through the trouble to do a 3-step process to get this like it should be. Turn this around to the side, Peanut. Come on around. So you can kind of see into the back here a little bit. You can see that how this is bent here on the end and how that's formed. Now we've kind of gone typically for the last 40 years, all the bottoms have been painted black, and then the top of plows were painted whichever color they were. The deal is on black, it makes it harder for us to paint and put together and not scratch it up. Black paint is only about $15 a gallon versus $50 a gallon for this yellow. So we spend more money, we put a better paint job on it to last longer. It does kind of look, maybe to some people it looks a little better painted black having the two colors, but that front face is going to be worn off the first day, so that isn't going to matter. And then past that, you want the good paint to be on everything you can be. So similar things what I was talking about on reduction of the size of metal. Now the only parts that we used to sell for plows of a manufacturer like this would be this bar under here. It's called the Z bar, and that's because the angles on it, it kind of looks like a Z. So, and it was always a 1 inch thick by 3 inches. So we've gone to a 1 by 4. So we don't think that that's going to take away the needing of getting new Z-bars, and that the shear bolt will take care of all that. What would bend a Z-bar is when it hits something under the ground way back near the back of the moldboard, where it just really gave it a hard twist to the side instead of a kick from the front. Anything when it loads too much from the front, hits something, whether it's a rock, root, whatever underneath, it's going to shear this smaller bolt back here. But if you hit it at the wrong place, what it would do is it would bend that Z-bar. So we've just tried to make this plow practically indestructible, and we just try to make our attachments better and a lifetime attachment instead of something just to sell. We've kept these plates 1/2 inch. I've looked at a lot of plows that have been 1/2 inch for 40 years, and now they've reduced that to 3/8. So we've kept that to 1/2 inch. It costs more money, but since it's worked for 50 years good, we're scared to go down to the 3/8, especially that we've made this stronger. We don't want to start bending these back plates. Now we bend all of this up in here and make all of this. This is called the frog up in here, and then you've got your braces that run off your slide. Come on around to the other side, Peanut. Now this has got your optional gauge wheel on it, and this is a wheel like would be used on the back of a bush hog. It's a laminated tire. You loosen the 4 bolts and can adjust it up and down for the height. Right now it's adjusted too low. It would need to come up quite a bit. And on most tractors, if you've got draft and position control, good hydraulic control on a large tractor, you probably won't need that at all. If you've only got draft control on an older tractor, then you're going to need that gauge wheel. But we've kept all the beams 1 by 4. We're using the highest quality metal you can get, which is oiled and pickled steel, so we can cut it with a laser. All of these holes right now, they're hand bored with a big drill, similar drill press, milling machine. And soon we just got our laser finished, so we'll be cutting these holes with a laser, and that's going to make it a lot easier for us to do. Come on back around to the front. Just for instance, on thicknesses, this is 1.5 inches by 3 with U-bolts here, making it easy to slide. A lot of the companies now, but instead of having to buy the U-bolts in quantities of 1,000 to get them in good prices, they're just putting a plate with 2 holes and 2 bolts on them. It's cheaper. They don't have to stock the U-bolts, but it's not nearly as easy for you to adjust when you're trying to adjust the sides, because you're going to need 2 wrenches and you've got to loosen 2 different places, and it's just a lot harder than it is with these U-bolts. Now that's a 3/8 thick piece of metal that runs across there, and that's as thick as you can get it, being as thin as you can get it, keeping your hitch down low and keeping your beam up high as you can, so you've got more clearance under there. I've seen other plows use a 4x4, and what they're having to do is tighten up the clearance so you don't have as much path to get the junk out of it, so it doesn't wrap up on your beam back here. So we've looked at the plows we've plowed for a lot of years. My great-great-grandfather sold plows that were pulled by mules, and my grandfather sold mules. And then my father, when the first tractors came around, he kind of liked the tractors because he had to clean out the mule stalls. So we've been selling tractors since the early 1900s, been selling mules since the 1850s, and now that my father, he's still here every day almost when he's not fishing, but the tractor pretty much has won the war on that. But we wanted to let you know, at Everything Attachments, we really put quality by design as our trademark. We think of that before we build an attachment, and we make it for you to be a lifetime attachment. If you've got any questions, just give us a call or an email. We'll be happy to size the plow for the tractor you've got.